streaming setting,
Okay.
and then probably yeah, live streaming has started.
Okay.
Probably yeah, 1 2 minutes or maybe uh, guys will wait.
Yeah, let
So
me know.
yeah, maybe 1 2 minutes will wait. Uh, Yeah, hello, sir. I think so. We can begin. So the whole idea. Thanks for your time. So whole idea is that we've got some parents also with their kids.
Okay.
So it's not about all the time how kids have the confusion or what to do, how to do. It's
Yeah.
even for the parents also. How should they be decided? So I think there are two key things. One is that what options are available, but probably before that also how do one figure it out what interest to kids, and then how do the which facilitation mode we can plan, so that they get to explore more from basics, and then probably it comes to some options. So I was thinking maybe Shishir, Vivek, all the kids also have that of that age, so probably they would also, so maybe we can have some views out of the discussion in which what areas, what are some of the queries we can take, and then probably make it more interactive. So I was thinking that way rather than just running through some slides.
Okay.
uh, yeah, Vivek, Shishir, I think so. Vivek, your son is doing done JEE also, so probably you would have some queries, or probably why JEE, or what all it goes, when you plan for kids, future. Some others also, parents, they can also always uh, have their queries. Yeah, Avikel also has joined. He's our young brigade, so probably he's just have been through his probably good career, just passed out, so he can also advise how he planned also from a different perspective. So Vivek, would you like to have some?
Yeah, actually, my
Don't do this.
hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Uh, my son has appeared has got a score in JE mains, and his score is 95.57, and we are hoping for a seat in NIT, and we are not so clear as to whether we should go for a branch option or whether we should go for an institute option. Means what should we concentrate on? Should we concentrate on a branch or should we concentrate on an institute? What would be?
So is your son also here? Like, what is his interest? I think so. That
Yeah,
would
yeah, yeah.
also
Here, my
be
son is also here.
okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah, he is
All right.
also in the same dilemma.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay. 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 So maybe some other parents, maybe 5 minutes we can take, some other parents or any other views we have, and then probably we can do it, more as a group discussion kind of a thing. Shishir, any points or somewhat, Vinit, do you have any, lot of curiosity? How do we plan things about?
Hi, I was just thinking that we have a new person joined today in these series of meetings. I think Vineet Kumar had mentioned that he has joined, or he or she, I don't know, with his daughter. So why doesn't let's hear from them also, and then we all can join together and have some perspective,
Yeah,
preferably
yeah,
of Narayan sir,
correct.
because
Yeah,
Narayan sir
new
has
or
seen
old,
it.
Dharmendra, basically the parents who would have, those kids, who would be going through that, schooling, finishing of, going to next stage, they would have a lot of curiosity. So if there are any questions or few other things, or they have any things in mind, maybe we can assimilate some thoughts and then probably, try to give some structure to this discussion.
Let's welcome Vineet or Anushka to speak a bit.
I think so.
I,
Probably let I think so get some thoughts in place and answer from various aspect, and then see we can make it more interactive. I think the other way around.
Maybe they're on mute and they don't know that.
Uh, yeah, maybe. Hello, sir. Why don't you give just a very larger perspective and answer from your research?
yeah,
And then maybe others will combine. I've
yeah.
seen if
So,
we
no,
can get.
basically, let me address that question whether location is important or a stream is important. I think that you give first preference to stream, and because most of the NITs are on par. And as one professor from IIT Kanpur, who is now in Austin, Texas, he said that except for the top 10 or 15 American universities, IITs and NITs are better than, say,
ठीक है
uh,
हो गया
American university. So choose NITs which are, say, well known, and see what branches in those NITs you like, and then home in on a branch. That's what my opinion would be.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hasmukh, I also have an opinion on
Yes,
this.
yes, sure, sure, Vikal.
Yeah, so so in my generation, at least, and all the people that I have, seen till now, who are like up to 4 years, 5 years junior to me. So 12th standard is too early for us to understand. Like most of us, like for 80%, 90% of us, we don't even know what we want to do by the end of 12th grade. So, like, unless, like, one thing is that definitely you should look for the right stream. If you know what is it that interests you the most, like if you understand that you really like to understand how materials work, then material science is probably the best thing for you to do. And if you know that coding is something that you're really passionate about, then probably you should look for computer science no matter where you get it. But I think that most of the people, most of the kids don't even know what these fields mean. Like they don't know what comes in chemical, what comes in chemistry, what comes in material science, what comes in electronics. So for them, I think first of all they should like start introspecting, and we should get into a conversation about counseling with them. And when it comes to like just making a choice, then I think you should go for a place where you would have like a like lower rank people, lower in the sense that better rank people go there, so that you'd be surrounded by other people who are generally more motivated. So that will help you in at least figuring out what branch you want at the end of your BTech or something, right? So you get into civil in a really good college like IIT Kanpur or Kharagpur, and there, since you're surrounded by people who are also trying to search like their life's purpose, like by the end of your career you might find out that okay, you are interested in medical, so you'll at least by then you will know what to do in your life.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Thanks. And Shishir, anyone else have any opinion? Really good to make it more interactive. And then hopefully we'll go to some non-engineering options also, sir, Narayan sir.
Yeah.
Shishir, you have any opinion? Or Dharmendra, all IITians? But how do they decide?
By peer pressure.
Maybe.
Like
So, sir,
parents motivating, you're not good enough to get into IIT, then you say, okay, dikhayenge.
Yeah, Anushka would like to speak. Can you please allow that unmute?
no,
She
she can
has to
speak.
unmute herself.
Yeah, or if you're finding some difficulty, just refresh your browser.
Can you control the unmuting?
No,
Maybe
no,
you
we can.
have
I can
No,
control.
mute
we,
someone, not unmute.
चुप करा सकते हो.
So, but Narayan said at your time, probably the options were less and IITs were also less.
IITs were less, and like
Options
I
were also
said,
less.
options were less because there was only two options: medicine or engineering. so, so
No, no,
Roorkee
even
and
branches of engineering, I think,
oh
were
yeah,
less.
yeah, very limited, very limited. And then that multidisciplinary approaches weren't there. You couldn't get dual degrees. So many changes are there now. So you can get a dual degree, for example, if you want civil engineering and mechanical engineering, or civil engineering and electronics. You can do a dual degree today. Especially Kanpur allows a dual degree.
And the best thing about that is that you can select what is your second degree at like in your third year,
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
might have like figured out what you really want to do.
Yeah, so one of the things that somebody else had mentioned also, and I was listening to some talk that Gupta ji gave, and one of the things is decide what you don't like. Even if you cannot decide what you like, because there's confusion about liking, there are certain things you don't like, so that you could eliminate earlier on.
I think that is one of the toughest questions to decide what you don't like, because many times a young mind starts liking because it
Yeah,
is fresh, young, active,
yeah,
and is
that's
develop interest in anything they good enough they are introduced to.
yeah,
So
that's true.
figuring out what you don't like, I knew someone in my batch who liked every subject.
Hmm. Oh, I know guys who graduated around my time. One went and became a Hollywood producer, and another, Hero Chatpar, went and became a cartoonist in New York. So they weren't fit in that sense for engineering, in that sense, in their makeup, but they were good enough academically to do engineering. so, you know.
Right. Sir, maybe we can just have a larger view from your slide, from slide also, that what all
Okay,
options available, and
yeah,
then maybe
yeah,
people can interact.
let's go ahead and see what happens. So the first thing that I have said is that you have technical and non-technical streams after high school. So there's lots of options in arts and commerce, and there's no need really, the pressure that we had much earlier, say 50 years ago, about medicine and engineering being the only options with which you could make a Sunehra career. So anyway, so science towards engineering or medicine
So
and pure
technical,
science.
engineering you are considering technical, and everything else you are considering non-technical, is it? Because
No, technical has medicine also. Science towards engineering or medicine, pure science. So technical, I am slightly differentiating from science
but where does
in terms of,
journalism, law?
yeah, there are so many things coming up, because I mean I couldn't put everything into a slide, but here we go. So if
Oh,
we
okay, okay.
now go into this, these are educational, and here also I have not put vocational or diploma. I'm only talking about degree. Now even in degree, look at arts: painting, sculpture, photography, performing arts, puppetry, cinematography, mass communication, animation, jewelry design. So earlier on, these arts were not considered as sustainable careers, you know. So, but now it's I don't know what's happening, jumping. So, coming back to this slide, for example, now, suppose now we look at commerce, even commerce, finance, banking, insurance, then there's marketing, advertising, trade, e-commerce, transportation and logistics have become big. Then pure commerce subjects like economic theory, econometrics, modeling, macroeconomics. Then medicine also. There is traditional medicine like surgery, general medicine, whatever, oncology, dermatology, and then newer medicines like sports medicine. There's a lot of talk about sports medicine as well as sports psychology. Okay. Then palliative care, reconstructive surgery, as the uh, age of the population is going up. Palliative care and geriatric care is becoming now more uh, attractive careers. Anyway, reconstructive surgery, transplants, physiotherapy, nutrition, diet. So these kind of things are the newer medical fields. Now, pure medicine science, for example, generally pure science was not considered very well paying career for an average person. So only the upper 1% of the people should go for pure science, was the general advice given, saying that then you have to be really top of the field if you are going to pure science. Otherwise, making a living becomes a bit of a difficult. But here also, there is just so much pure mathematics, applied mathematics, number theory, differential equations, and then biology is blown up like anything now. Cellular, molecular, genetics, microbiology, biochemistry, drug research, food industry. And I had mentioned once that there's a German company in Pune, and they make all kind of artificial flavors, including Alfonso mango and strawberry. They're all artificial flavors. They are located somewhere in Hinjawadi. I forget the name of the company for a minute. Anyway, so coming back to this slide, then if the traditional things in engineering are there, mechanical, civil, chemical, electrical, electronics, and all that. But now interdisciplinary is getting a lot of ground. Okay, so metro engineering, like I have been always talking about, now electric vehicle. Now suddenly every university has started a course in electric vehicle. Okay, now government of Maharashtra has decided they will not buy any petrol or diesel vehicle. All vehicles that they buy for government of Maharashtra will be electric vehicles. So energy, conventional, non-conventional energy, defense equipment design, sports equipment, health and safety design. So this interdisciplinary field is something that will become more and more active than pure engineering or traditional engineering streams. So, like we discussed before, there are just too many choices now. So there is one problem of overchoice. When the choices were less, it was a little easier to make a decision. Okay, so
So there are two things, right? One is like at probably 10th standard or some level at age 15, there we
yeah,
would take it more from a macro perspective,
yeah.
and then probably at later stage you will go more into right?
Yeah, so at that macro stage, that traditional thing still exists. That would you like to go through a vocational path, or do you want to go through an educational path? And even in educational path, there is this issue of, do you want to do a hands-on type of training by going through a diploma, and then after diploma deciding on a degree? Okay, so there are lots of what shall I say, plus points in doing a diploma and then doing a degree, though it was considered that anti-intellectual, that you're not smart enough. That's why you went for diploma. But I don't think that makes sense in today's world. That if you do a diploma, you will learn a lot of skills using your hands, and then you can go and do a degree after diploma, and you probably will do well in your degree education. So you don't have to necessarily think in career based on marks scored, is the point I'm trying to make. That earlier on, since the choices were limited, and you were driven by what I would say, whether your marks were good enough for something. You know, so today I
So,
really
so
don't.
I wanted to go even fundamentally. It's like, no, how would we know, or how would we be able to figure it out whether
Difficult.
kids are
I
inclined towards a science
No,
kind of a subject, or
like Shishir
arts kind of
mentioned,
thing?
if she, like that, if you are generally intelligent, then quite a lot of environment and exposure molds your likes and dislikes, and these can change with time. So you can't be very rigid. That's why the new educational policy is good. At least the new educational policy allows you to exit at different stages of your educational career and go somewhere else. See, earlier on we had discussed it, that every time we come to a branch, and then we take a branch, and then you go forward a little bit on that branch, then it again subdivides into branches. Now, if we go to 3 4 different nodes, going back to an earlier node becomes difficult. But those kind of things are changing now. Definitely you can do anything you want in, say, US educational system. There are limitations, but even then you could do many things which you couldn't do, say, in a structured British or Japanese or Indian educational system. So the new educational policy now at least allows you a certain amount of horizontal movement at different stages of your educational level, which I think is very nice. That you could switch. Okay, so uh, uh, anyway, so the question is, at the age of 14 and 15, are you mature enough? One. Number two, are parents wise enough? Now, the problem about parents is that they grew up in a different social economic structure. So uh, they can't necessarily try to, what shall I say, uh, lead
Superimpose their learnings.
or lead children into their unfulfilled dreams. so, so I always say that you have to give children a lot of what do you call, expose them to a lot of things, and then try to figure out, whether something in that what you have exposed them clicks. So even sports, just take a simple thing like sport. Are the kids good in tennis or in hockey or in football or in cricket or what? I mean, it's very difficult to say. Which game you would be good at. Certain things you can eliminate, like, though somebody was mentioning it's difficult to, Shishir mentioned it's difficult to eliminate, but some things you can eliminate. If you're not 6'5" or 6'6", don't go for basketball. So certain things you can eliminate by your physical structure or mental aptitude and things like that. Okay, like for example, I wouldn't have gone for pure maths, come what may. Because I had to force myself to like maths. I didn't naturally like maths. So anyway, so coming back to it, very difficult at the age of 14, 15, 16 to do. So the best thing is to try and see what's up there, out there, and things keep on changing. So adaptability, I feel, is far more important today than it was 50 years ago.
Right, sir. Maybe some of the topics, Avikal, Shishir, you have any perspective, or kids have
See,
any other queries, we can take it up, parallelly, slightly.
even in software languages, now they are pushing some language called Go. So I mean, it's like C. It's not very different from C, but they feel that C has some limitations when you go into cloud and very large databases and all that. So there's a lot of push for a language called Go now. So you have to sit and learn Go again. Of course, not very difficult to learn Go if you know basic coding, but the thing is that you have to be flexible to learn. Chalo. Anybody else?
Yes. Shishir, Avikal, anyone want to, just add on, some of the more insight of any of the topics, can always be helpful. Or, kids have any other questions, on particularly of any specific area, are also good.
I have one more thing that I just remembered when Narayanji said that like he did not like maths, he had to force himself to like maths. So I've seen like one trend that it is generally that a lot of people in the same class usually like same kind of subjects, and it mostly depends a lot on the teacher itself. So when you're
Yeah,
looking for the next place where you're going to study, try to see if you know or if you can find a place where the teachers are like have a good
agreed.
reputation among the students, or that
Agreed.
might be a good thing.
Agreed. And that I emphasize, especially when people are going for postgraduate education in US, that the faculty in that college is more important than the name of the college. You might have excellent faculty in some college, and it need not be in MIT or Harvard or Stanford or Carnegie Mellon or anywhere, And so that becomes far more important when you go into a postgraduate degree. The kind of research guide or that you get. So I agree fully that if you can somehow identify good faculty even in undergraduate education, that may be more important because a good teacher does what do you call motivate your interest or activate your interest. I don't know what to call it. Inspire you sometimes then and the other way around, that a bad teacher can kill your interest.
Yes, I remember physics was my
I
favorite subject going
agree.
inside college, and in the first semester itself, I started hating it to my core.
Right. Actually, at times, teacher is more important than school. Who is the class teacher or things like that?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think so. Anushka wanted to ask something. So, if you're really finding it difficult, either try to see if you can use a Chrome browser, or put your questions on on chat
chat.
also. Either of that, yeah, you could figure it out. Very difficult on the runtime to investigate the technology matter. So I think so. There are also things like architecture or probably
Yeah,
some thing or design fields or things like that
yeah, there's
also can be added up.
yeah, lot of industrial design and so there's lot of
Sir, could you explain about the diploma thing? Like, I did not understand. So, if we take a diploma, what do we receive in that course? And
Okay, let's see. So here after 10th, you can go to a polytechnic course, and the polytechnic courses are there also in non-engineering fields. But uh, so there are 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, and they're cost effective and jobs within a short time duration. So generally what happens is that the middle or lower middle class people, if they are not got very high marks, they are the people who go for polytechnic courses. But I have come across while teaching in engineering that there were guys who were coming after polytechnic courses or a diploma for a degree, and generally they did well. Okay, in general they did well. But so there are a lot of diplomas that are available, and now what is happening is that because of government push on skills learning, there are just too many choices. Okay. So let me see if I have something on diploma. Okay, diploma. Okay, diploma. So that I talked about engineering, but there are certificate courses in English writing, intellectual property rights, huh? Buddha's teachings and Vipassana. Just see the wide variety. And diploma courses after this is after basic graduation, of course. So what we were discussing earlier was diploma courses after high school. Okay, so there's just too many choices there. No, I don't seem to have a list of diploma courses. Uh, anyway, so I don't seem to have this thing early. But somebody had discussed this right in the beginning. How do we go about trying to figure out what to do? Okay, so one is spend is you can even before identify your strengths, talents, passions, and interests. Now, this is difficult, very, very difficult. It's easy to say, but difficult to really identify. But brainstorm possibilities, that is there. That you can brainstorm with people who are in that career. Now, I did mention long time ago, sometime that before joining IIT, I had applied for special class railway apprenticeship. And then I went to meet the general manager of Central Railway, and he sort of dissuaded me from joining the special class railway apprentice program, saying that you've got into IIT and by the time you graduate, he asked me, why do you want to join railways? I said, I'll get a gold pass and I can travel anywhere I want in the train free of cost. So he said, by the time you grow up, people will be flying, nobody will be using the train. You know, so if that was the motivation, his point was there was no point in being a railway officer. Okay, so brainstorm possibilities with people who are in the field, the others who have just graduated and things like that, and I think that's a very good way of doing it. And conduct extensive research, and now you can do because we have Google and stuff like that, and decide what you don't want to do, and make a plan of what you may want to do and how to qualify for it. So this is just one way of going about it. Now,
So the third is very dangerous actually, deciding what you don't want to do. Then if you start putting up the list, it all becomes what you don't want to do only then.
I don't think so. I don't. What you definitely don't want to do, we can say.
and
Okay.
and
Now, suppose you're
and
not
one
very
more thing,
good.
what I see, that interest, because now with the internet world, there are a lot of choices, so I see, every week or every month, the interest keeps changing. So
Yeah,
you are
but
not
that
able to finalize or focus on one.
that's what we defined as the problem of overchoice. Okay, so there are just too many choices. It's like saying that I like ice cream, and then you go to some big ice cream parlor and you got 35 flavors. You can't eat all the 35 flavors. It's not possible. So you have to choose.
So one thing that is like a comment towards Hasmukh just said is so basically I think when Narayan ji said that choose what you definitely don't want to do, it is not like just based on like your own hypothetical world of
No,
what
you
you have
could
seen.
no. That's why. So there's a catch-22 here now. Whom to take advice from? Now you can't take advice from someone too far out in from the current scenario, because the scenario is changing so fast. So I gave you an example of a classmate of mine whose grandfather studied in Roorkee engineering, and they were doing calculus in final year of engineering. Now they do calculus in high school. So you see what happens, that over a period of 40-50 years, quite a lot of things change and shift. So uh, who do you take advice from? So you must take advice from practitioners in the field, and both younger and older practitioners in field, to get a wider opinion about it all. Okay, so there are
Narayan ji, I wanted to add one thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to add that, like before rejecting a field or before putting it in your definitely don't want to do bucket, I
Yeah.
would strongly suggest like any high school grad any kid to first try out something like go really deep into it. Like you don't have to like do a job inside it. Just do a project which properly utilizes the principles of that particular field, and only
Okay.
then reject it.
Huh. Do a
Uh,
project.
but,
That's a
but
good one.
Avikalp, my one counter argument here is that if you have like the possibilities, the choices are so
Yeah.
many, then how would you be able to really do that justice,
No,
to
no, it's not
really
that. That is
into
actually
some.
not a problem because you don't have to go for the optimal choice, right? You just have to go with a good enough choice. And the thing is that so in a few years it will not be about just doing like if you're taking a degree then your life will be set on that. Even in my generation, people are shifting their field of work every like 5 10 years. So you have
Yes,
to
yes,
anyway do
yes.
that because fields are changing. Like computer science has completely changed in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So every field is going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
change in 5 years. So you have to reskill every time. You can't sit for a degree every time.
So
So
one
what
thing
you
is
need
like
to learn
after
is to learn.
degree, in your work life probably you would have to do, but I'm not sure in a basic because degree graduation is the probably a first step to get into your work lifespan, right?
So in my opinion,
So
like what I have seen, the degree life is just some time where you can pay your institute some money to get some free time to think. Like there's not much else that goes on at that time. You have more time. If you directly get into a job, you spend a lot of time in your job. So instead, you just pay an institute and you stay in those buildings talking with other people with the same age, so that you
so
finally
so
have
sir,
clarity about
it's
what to
like
do in your
saying
life.
so sir, it's like saying my only learning in IIT is to make some good friends, nothing I can make about it.
Yeah, it's actually
Uh, See,
friends, and it's also like you get the time to think, right? Otherwise, you don't get the time to think.
not that. The other issue is there is a lot of peer learning. Whatever you might say, like you, I think somebody had pointed it out that uh, the peers who are exposed to different things talk about that, and then you get a far more exposure than you would do on your own.
Right, right.
So so
But
the
sir, my counter argument here is in this century or now new decade with lot of education going online also, So the how the peer learning will happen, that also is undergoing a transformation.
no, but
Guys like
see,
Academy
so
or
there's
Byju's coming up.
but there are limits to online education, no? Because in online education, you really don't have a peer group assessment, okay? While in a non-online education, you have a peer group assessment of what you're learning, and by that peer group assessment, you learn a lot also. Okay, so I do not know how to expand on that.
I
Uh,
can help you in that, Narayanji.
huh,
So I think so. Even when people are doing online education only and these kind of things are happening, even then people will always still make friends, right? The
yeah,
peer learning will still go on in that manner, and it's, usually people make friends with like-minded people. So if you're learning something and there are other people who are learning the same thing, you're more likely to make friends with them. So that is how the peer learning can still go on. The point that Nananji wants to make is that you learn a lot by sitting and discussing things with other people who are also trying to learn the same thing.
yeah.
Right, right. And only I think so. Only aspect which may miss is about socializing aspect of friends. Probably learning a technical may happen.
I think वो problem technology खुद ही solve कर देगा. It has created a problem of not letting people interact. There will be technology that will let people interact. You already have like we are talking in everyone's remote here. It's still talking, right? So people in our company, the place where I work, we have hired almost 100 people during the lockdown. Hardly met anybody, and still I have like 4 or 5 of my best friends are among those people who I've never met.
Yeah, so it's all transforming, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And Well, at least what my children in US are saying is that it's not going to go back now to the days where everybody went to office. You will go
Yeah,
maybe one day in a week or 2 days in a week. That's about it. You know?
it's hybrid everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's become what shall I say, accepted, technologically accepted uh, work culture. So except in
Like,
hardcore manufacturing, you know, where you have to work with machines, everything is becoming remote.
Yeah, actually, in India, many companies they said initially like that, but nowadays they're taking away. Like they said that once normal time comes up, normally they'll switch back to 5 days in a week.
May not. It depends on the type of the company. Because you see,
yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
all look at it from just pure. I mean, without getting into.
Yes,
Um,
yes, sir. Rather getting into probably that depth, probably we could take, some other
yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
we
streams
have
also,
let
because for benefits of kids.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's come
sure.
back to the original topic of
Yeah,
Yes, yes. Let's
sure.
go to the some
career.
other slides about talk about different streams other than probably engineering or
I would
Okay.
also request to come back get our focus back on the two key people for whom this whole presentation is meant for. I think that is the poor kid who is struggling with all this, extra choices, as well as a parent who is also struggling to an extent to give them the right choices, if
So
possible.
another way, leave it to God and guesswork.
I think that is the most reliable one.
yeah, 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 because anyway we are saying that work life may anyway we are changing every 5 years, so probably you would have, even if you make a mistake, you have a chance to, probably.
Yeah,
Like I would recommend go to a place where you can, in 2 years you can figure out, okay, I don't want to complete this degree, but I can get a job right now.
yeah,
Yeah,
there are
but sir, I think so. It's worthwhile just to just look at, all the choices. So at least kids have the ideas that these all things are possible to look at.
Okay, so here look at this slide now. Formal education avenues, pure science and mathematics, applied science, engineering.
Sir, probably you would have to just brief it like maybe, pure sciences and applied sciences, for a 15 years old, still it may be,
Okay, we
difficult.
can go
What is the
back to,
difference?
okay, well, let's see. Careers in agriculture. Should we go sector-wise careers first?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So sector-wise, look at careers. Agricultural sector reducing as countries develop, mainly due to improved yields. Okay. So though there is career in agriculture sector, the total number of people involved in agricultural sector is reducing. But there are jobs there also. Industrial sector also reducing due to automation. Service sector keeps on growing as countries develop. Okay. So this is mota mota. Then in agricultural science, research and education, actual farming, including horticulture. So horticulture gives you highest dollar per acre or highest rupee per acre. Okay, that you cultivate.
So
All
from each of these areas, right? So typically, if you enter, what all you will activity you will do, what all you will learn, probably that will also help.
okay. So services to agriculture field, for example, now you will have testing, providing drip irrigation products, farm machinery, farm insecticides and pesticides, storage and transport facilitation. So the look at the breadth of services that you can do in agricultural field. Okay. And marketing, trade and distribution, that that if tomato is only 2 rupees 50 on the field, by the time it comes to the table it is 60 rupees, and the so much of cost differential is because of storage, cold chain issues and distribution problems. So if we shrink that, the costs would go down. For
Sir, I don't think that is an issue in India because the cold storage facilities are provided by the government itself, right?
No, but not enough. Not enough. See, in India, it's a big issue that quite a lot of the farm produce uh, gets spoiled at the farm head itself if it is not sold off quickly. So they have to sell it off quickly because the farmer doesn't have cold chain facility. So it is either a large corporate thing or an independent group who has the cold storage facility, or like you said, the government. Okay, but that's
General,
not adequate yet.
General, if you're interested in this, let's talk about this after the call as well.
Sure,
Actually,
sure.
this is like, if you're interested in this, there's a lot to do in this field.
Yeah, yeah.
And India
Anyway,
is like the biggest waster of food. Like, there is no
yeah.
country which wastes more food and
Maximum
spoiled
food. Yeah.
grains and
Yeah.
spoiled things.
Anyway, we'll discuss that separately if we want. Okay. So careers in industry, actual manufacturing, like I said, that you really go to the shop floor and then you are machining something or you are making an integrated circuit, you're running a fab line or something like that, or assembling a car or tractor or an aeroplane or whatever. Then industrial design, product development, and industrial engineering. That's becoming a big field because quite a lot of this industrial design, product development, and industrial engineering feeds into automation. Okay. Then pure education and research, supply of raw material, distribution of finished goods. That's become a big issue now because especially raw materials, there's a lot of blockage in supply chain at the moment. Repair and maintenance of facilities, repair and maintenance of finished goods, and national level planning, strategic manufacturing, manufacturing due to price advantage, new frontiers. Okay, so here is where we say national level planning. Should India go for fab? Okay, we've got fabless IC design, but we don't have a fab big enough to make a lot of integrated circuits. So we are dependent on Taiwan or Korea or China. Okay, so
So
career.
we can consider supply chain and logistics to be a good field, right? So,
Yes, yes,
so if someone wants to go in that field, so
yeah.
what degree does he take general?
Generally, fundamentally, something called operations research. Okay, so OR is a tool which is sort of applied mathematical tool. So a lot of operational research programs help you to calculate the minimum cost of transporting goods. And when we talk about operational research and talking about minimization, there are things like local minimization, then there are things called global minimization. So one example I'll give you. We wrote a operational research program in 70s for Indian Oil Corporation as to where to site liquid petroleum gas bottling plants. Okay, so should the bottling plant be where the market concentration, geometric center of the market, or somewhere else? Because the cost of carrying the cylinder to the customer is the highest cost. Okay, and the bottling plant also, there are variables like you have a capital cost of a bottling plant, which depends on the size of the bottling plant. And the bottling plant has to be near petroleum refineries. So there are number of issues. So you have to write what is called linear differential equations, okay, or algebraic expressions for what the costs are. And depending on the geographic factors and things like that, you can get a minimum cost of transportation or minimum cost of distribution of finished goods. So these kind of things are there even for the supply of chocolates or something like that, or ice cream.
Right.
So
So, sir, these carriers, people, what would they start from? In which they will move into some of this, like
I
some
would say,
mechanical, civil engineering.
mainly operations research, a little bit of computer programming and operations research.
Mm-hmm.
So those would be the fields from which you can do better work in uh, supply chain management and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, maybe at some level of detailing, and maybe we can move on to another also. that the
Yeah,
kids who would have more interest, maybe we can take it up one by one.
yeah. So then,
So my question is for if we take a logistics and supply chain, so which stream do we choose? Will we choose
so
science or commerce?
you could use either, actually
We have to
speaking.
go to the foundation level. How would the path come?
Yeah, the path, but as I said, that ultimately, when it is a large problem, you have to simulate it on a computer. So a certain amount of programming knowledge is required. One. Number two, a little bit of operations research methodology should be known. So there you have a lot of equations to deal with. Okay. So
Sir, I think so. Janil is also asking that, like after 10th, what all steps he has to do to reach there.
okay,
Yeah,
I
actually,
would.
it's a very good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. But unfortunately, what happened for us at least, that we learned operations research after doing engineering. Okay. But I am sure that you can learn operations research if you do. Um, uh, so the question is, if you are good in maths and that educational institute gives you a BCom, but with a mathematics as a minor, that may be a good way of going and doing it, or take
Sir,
maths as
uh,
a major and take commerce as a minor.
So I guess,
maybe, sir, I guess MBA is a good field to go for,
yeah.
MBA in operations. And
Yeah,
also, there are some softwares like SAP
yes,
has some softwares.
yes, yes.
So you can choose either.
Yeah, but even before doing MBA, what do you do? Do you go via arts to
Yeah,
MBA,
yeah.
or do you go via engineering to MBA? How do you
Yeah,
do?
that there are many paths, right? So that you
Yeah,
can explain.
yeah. So this doesn't still answer Jainil's question, which
Right.
is the
So,
better part.
so ultimately, we need to answer either we are looking as a professional to work or we are looking to have a business.
Yeah. In either case, you need a basic engineering or basic maths degree. I feel is good to have, and after that, you can go and do a degree in OR or a diploma in operations research or MBA or whatever.
So, sir, if you want to pursue
So, sir,
something in
if you
math,
want to, yeah,
then probably after the 10th, how would he go about it? So
after
currently,
what?
he would be doing 10th standard. So,
Yeah,
what to do after that?
10 standard is too early to say, okay, now this is the only path to do logistics. So my gut feeling is that one could do comp science or engineering. There's no harm in doing that. Or if there is a good college where they are teaching commerce with a lot of mathematics involved. So it shouldn't be commerce, which is only in terms of what shall I say, economic theory and commerce, where we are only talking about trade. There should be econometrics involved. So there's a lot of
Okay.
econometrics or mathematics and economics involved in managing a good supply chain.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Avikal, Shishi, anyone else also have some another thoughts like
Another
what
thoughts
there
like
are the
what there are
options?
the options.
If someone is doing want to go in that field, then I think as everybody has agreed that some basic graduation is needed, and later on based on the his or her interest, either in communication if he's better and managing skill, then he should prefer for MBA. And if it's a really good in maths and some programming, like he should prefer for doing research in that operation. Am I correct, sir?
Can I have an
I
opinion on
have an
this?
opinion on this.
I don't
I
think that
don't
any of
think
these things
that.
are required for doing anything. Like, I literally have worked in four fields that I have zero knowledge about. It's just that I went into it and I learned it and I did it and I was paid for it. Like, you don't need anything. You don't need to do any studies to really get a job. You just need the knowledge and the skill. So if you look at it in that manner, you will be able to, better understand the the job of a graduation in your life. So you said that you should go for an MBA. I personally feel that MBA like in at least among the people who graduated with me, the only people who did MBA were the people who did not know what they wanted to do in their life. So they just wanted more years of school to understand what they want to do. People like me who want to actually do like administration and business related things, we just went out and did it, and we learned it because there are all sorts of resources. I went into an accelerator which basically gave me a whole MBA course within like 2 months while I was already building a business.
Yeah.
So all the resources are out there. You shouldn't think of these schools as ways of
Right, right.
entry points into industries.
Because probably at this probably recent years, maybe some sort point what you said may be correct, but probably yeah, if a few decade or something, it had a different connotation. But I would still believe that if someone had that more of business acumen, a formal degree can help in learning few other things. And of course, another thing is all makes you meet a lot of people with different backgrounds and different business streams also what you do, so that also helps in a sense.
Yeah, Hasmukh, let's answer to complete all his points what he has collected. So that's good. And this discussion will continue. Once candidate develops confidence, they can start new business in selected field. Till now, it's learning path. Till that point.
So here I have made a partial list of service industry segments and numerous careers in each segment. Okay. So health services. So why I said services is like we said globally, the GDPs are shifting into service industry. So the service industry has more GDP than agriculture industry or manufacturing industry.
So
So
we have
if
to
I
also
break up,
point out to the kids, what is the path in which they can, go to about doing something of
okay,
this.
let's just go through the services, then let's go and talk about the paths. So health services, housing services, municipal and community services, where again it gets into broken to transport, city roads, housing. So there are in each service there is a different vocational path depending on the service. Okay, educational services, intercity, international transport services, policing, security, safety services, communication services, finance and banking services, insurance services. Now let's say finance and banking services. Finance and banking services mean what? No, it so there. So if there are banking services which are specialized, or services which you are advising uh, corporates into which sectors to invest in, then you start getting very specialized. So there are very high level of uh, educated people with mathematics background and engineering background in banking services also. So the when we say finance and banking services, if you ask which career path to follow, it's very difficult to say which career path to follow. There's no rigid way. Like someone else mentioned, that somewhere down the line you have to learn up what you need to do. So at that time, what you might have learned through a systematic or so-called professional degree may not be relevant even. So suppose I have got a finance and banking job. Some of the finance and banking jobs today require a lot of prediction. And when you come into prediction, then there are a lot of mathematics involved. You're trying to look at uh, various up downs, say in stock market. Then there are a lot of indices depending on how the graph is varying, based on which you try to make a prediction. So there's a lot of uh, what shall I say, multidisciplinary approaches even in finance and banking services. It's not a single discipline. So by knowing economics is not sufficient for me to provide a full range of finance and banking services. Okay. So if I am doing investment finance, then there's a lot of mathematics involved. because the investment cycles and investment changes. And then I need to predict technology. So there are a lot of people who take up a specific area of technology and try to become specialists in that. Will semiconductor industry grow? How much should one have exposure in semiconductor industry and things like that? So there are specialized verticals within each of these service sectors. So take communication services. What do you mean by communication services? So old days it was like pulling a telephone line and connecting a telephone, but that's not it today. So in the whole communication services, there are so many choices now. So in that communication services, are you talking about user end services? Are you talking about services that the service agencies provide, broadband services,
Uh,
and
so,
content?
I think so. Some of these, like these are a lot of topics. Probably, at kids at some of those level, maybe it's beyond than first level, second level. I think.
Yeah. So what do we do? How do we
Yeah.
discuss
So
this?
maybe we can see if kids have some questions, because otherwise,
Yeah.
time would be like too less. So I think so some of the questions what we are getting is about career in AI. How do we get into? So probably Avikalp and few other guys can throw up them life. If kids have interest in, or they have some curiosity. That if I were to make a career in AI, how should I go about it? Avikalp.
Um, okay, so I think first of all, like it is like making a career in AI is if if you know that you want to do it right now, learn statistics. In fact, don't even learn statistics. Pick up AI job. You can pick up jobs from there are a lot of internet like places like freelancer.com, Upwork, Fiverr, even like top
So,
coder gigs.
Avikal,
Pick
if
up a
like
top
after
coder
kids
gig.
who are doing 10th standard, how would they go about it? Are you
Yeah,
talking
I'm
from
telling that only. Like you can just go to
Acha,
topcoder.com,
okay.
go to topcoder.com, go to gigs, you can just pick a gig and try to do what they're asking you to do. If it like there would be marked, there will be tags and all of these things as well. Find a job, try to do it. You don't if you don't understand how to approach it, find a mentor that I think Hasmukh ji, you can easily guide Janil and anybody. Like we can help you connect with the right person who can guide into what to study. And I think like the best way, like the best lecture resources are all available online. So for knowledge you shouldn't have to think about कि यार मेरे को कौन सा filter cross करना चाहिए. Knowledge is all available online. What you need is basically the right environment.
And what
Environment
about
अगर
the
search करें,
formal education, Avikal? Like if they need to.
it is becoming more and more irrelevant. Like अभी अगर जैसे आप देख रहे होगे कि हाई स्कूल के मतलब
So you are
कॉलेज
saying that after 10th only you become start your venture, and don't even bother about
10 तक
going
भी
to
क्यों
an
वेट करना है
engineering.
मतलब why wait till 10th.
Narayan sir, now the career starts after before 10th only.
So,
Yeah.
for example, the way Janil was working with me, like just 7 months back, he could easily start contributing to open source projects. And if he contributes to open source projects for like 4 months, he'll become good enough to be paid for working on open source projects. If he can get
Like
paid in
I
10th, then
agree.
why do you want to like spend
Avikal,
money for 6 years?
Avikal, Davinder is here. How will kids get the confidence just by doing the project, or they need to complete some graduation also?
They only see after graduation, nobody has confidence unless they have done the job. ग्रेजुएशन डज नॉट
Graduation is
गिव
irrelevant,
एनीबॉडी
Narayan
एनी
sir. That's
कॉम्पिटेंस.
what we are
कोई कॉम्पिटेंस
concluding.
नहीं आता ग्रेजुएशन करने से.
And then let's.
Okay, we can talk offline.
Yeah, yeah. So you are saying that a degree worth IIT Kanpur was not worth, in a sense.
डिग्री का तो कोई वर्थ नहीं है बट यस वहां पे जो एनवायरनमेंट था द एनवायरनमेंट इटसेल्फ वाज एक्चुअली यूजफुल
Correct,
बिकॉज
correct. So that's that point we should identify and appreciate that one at least.
yes
Yes, sir.
definitely
I
so
think.
environment that is what I'm saying you should focus knowledge you can get from anywhere right now I've changed fields like after college and the only thing that I needed was the right environment. I surrounded myself with the right people who were also interested in doing that or who were actually excellent in doing that and they
That's
guided
correct.
me into what to learn.
Yeah, that's correct. But once you have crossed one stage in confidence, then only it will work. If you give same thing to class 10th student, then it may not work like that.
Yeah, they will have some individual personality also. But let's moving upon, there are careers in law, arts. I don't know
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
we
I'm
can
showing
cover
something on
as
armed
of today,
forces. Huh?
or
Yeah.
probably we can see if there are any interested parents or kids wants to know about some of
Here's something
those.
about law, criminal law, civil law,
Because
commercial,
a
consumer
discussion on this
protection,
could also take few hours, I'm sure.
international law, juvenile issues, marriage counseling. So it's a big field. Arts, like I discussed earlier, painting, sculpture, photography, performing arts,
And these are
magic.
they have a direct formal way of how to go about it, after 10th. I think very
Oh,
straightforward.
painting arts, there is for painting and sculpture, there are specialized schools for painting. Magic and puppetry, I haven't seen anything. Cinematography, there is. Drama, yeah, there is School of Drama. London School of Drama is famous. Then Delhi School of Drama is famous. Graphic design, a lot of engineering colleges are teaching industrial design and graphic design. Jewelry design, I do not know whether there's a formal course. There is some diploma course that gemology that I have seen, but I'm not quite sure who conducts it. But it's in Bombay. Commerce, of course, we just discussed in general. Sports, we said. Now, armed forces, we never discussed. See, we come all from sort of engineering background, so we talk about engineering quite. So, in armed forces also, we have combatants, non-combatants. Hmm? Then in army, artillery, air observation post, missile deployment, infantry, army medical corps, army supply corps, armored corps, signal corps, army intelligence, then air force flying and non-flying, pilots, fighter, transport, aircraft design, manufacture and maintenance, air defense, satellite navigation, navy, battleships, aircraft carriers, oilers, minesweepers, huh? Submarines, coast guard.
Sir,
So
sir, am I audible?
one of the things that I would, I mean, if somebody has got a say engineering degree and then joins the army for a short-term service commission, I think it's a good career path because that exposes you to a lot of current technology. Okay, which you don't find that much in industry as you will find, especially electronics. Since imports are open, the armed forces has got a lot of advanced electronics with them. Anyway, so I don't know.
Sir, so generally, if someone wishes to go abroad to study,
Yeah,
so they do after 12th, right?
yeah. No, 12th is nowadays prevalent, but earlier on we used to do a basic degree and go. So it depends
Basic
on.
like bachelor's or
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
But bachelor's degree in America, they insist on a 4 year undergraduate education. Okay. So some of the colleges in India are only 3 years for bachelor's degree. So that is not acceptable to go. So a 4 year, so you could do a bachelor's degree and one more, diploma or something like that, that you have 4 years of undergraduate education. So after 4 years, going is recommended because the costs are lower. While if you go at undergraduate level, then the costs are high because at undergraduate level there are not that much of financial aid or campus jobs available. So the costs are higher at undergraduate level, but a lot of people, especially from Bombay, Delhi, people are going abroad for education even after 12th.
Okay, so after 12th, they go for an undergrad.
Yeah, undergraduate education, but even postgraduate education in US, there is more emphasis on STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Okay, than in say non-science and engineering subjects. So when you're going for an education, the visas are not that easy. If you say I'm going to learn philosophy or I'm going to learn arts, they're not that easy to get. So the education streams that are preferable, unfortunately, are still science oriented if you have to go abroad.
So, Janil, like they are the Narayan sir, I think the SAT exam is there. I guess does it allow
Yes,
to go after 12th itself?
yeah, you can go after 12th.
Yeah. So technically, your answer is yes, Janil.
Yes.
After 12th also, but only few people go, and after graduation, many people go from engineering or medical line, technical line. Yeah. Thanks.
Sir, I believe I can go even now also. Like the minimum age for giving SAT is, I think it is 15. I'm not sure. But if I give the exam now also, I can go now only.
Yeah, you can. Technically, you can.
Yeah, Narayan sir, it would be good if you can touch all your topics that you have listed. I see it's a wide range, and normally
Yeah,
we are
but
familiar.
that I think it's good enough for a overall thing. I think now we can do another session when we go into specific, we take one field or something like that and go deeper. So
Okay.
what the kids can do is they can choose now. After having given them a broad exposure, they can come with specific things that they are interested. Now, do we want to talk about education USA after SAT, educational abroad after a basic degree, those kind of things.
Uh,
So
Sir,
J-
I had a doubt. So suppose if I wish to go to US after 10, so 11th and 12th, so do they have in US like the science, commerce, arts stream, or they have a different sort of curriculum?
no, they have separate curriculums for engineering, separate curriculum
No,
for
sir,
art.
after 10. After 10.
After 10th, no, after 10th, it's tough because you'll have to go to high school because 12 years of education is required in US to go to college.
Okay, so in high school,
After 10th, even if you do SAT, you'll still have to finish your 12th, either
uh,
here or there, but you'll have to finish
sir,
12th.
so how does their high school system work? Like, do they specialize in high school?
No,
Like, so in India we have 11, 12th as science, commerce, arts.
no,
So
there's
in
no
their
rigid,
high school, they have,
there's no rigid thing in high school there.
okay, so you have quite some flexibility
Yeah,
on what you wish
you
to
have a lot
do.
of flexibility.
Sir, so what do they teach in high school stuff? Like,
I don't know. I'll have to do a little bit research and get back to you. I mean, off the cuff, I don't want to talk because I could be wrong. Okay, but we can take that as a session. That what is high school education in US, and then what is undergraduate education uh, possibilities in US. We can look at it as a separate session by itself.
Definitely, sir. In fact, like you have to cover a lot of ground because there are different types of schools there, right?
Yeah. I mean, even in America, there are trade schools. So, and in America, they have this problem that they have draft. So they take 18-year-olds and compulsorily take them into the military. And when they finish the military, they have to reintegrate into a civilian course. So then they have certain courses meant for people who are coming back after their compulsory military work to get into, some education stream. So anyway, so we can cover that separately. The high school level and junior college level education in USA.
So I had one thing to say, like I think this is in response to I think I don't remember who had asked this, but someone was talking about like the confidence thing. So
Yeah.
I thought
yeah,
about it and I remember the thing that I usually tell people who do not know what they. So if you know what you want to do, you already have the confidence, right? So if you do
yeah.
not know what you want to do, the advice that I give everyone is try to say if you're going to enroll for a graduation degree, right? Try to get a graduation in something which becomes a superpower. So, for example, programming, anything like hardware, software. is a superpower because once you know how to program, you can build it for any goddamn industry. Similarly, public speaking is a superpower. If you can influence people and change their behavior, you can do that in any goddamn industry. So you can look for different kind of superpowers that are available out there, and then you can try to find a course and a place where they can actually teach you that superpower. Meanwhile, you introspect and try to find out what is the actual field that you want to build your career on.
Right.
Sir, could you please just repeat? I lost connection, so I was not able to hear you properly.
I was saying that if you do not know what is the field that you, if you know what is the field that you want to pursue, you can directly like dive into it. But if you do
Right.
not know what is the field that you want to pursue, then you should look for a graduation in something that gives you a superpower. So when I say a superpower, it means that it is something that you have now learned after putting in like 3-4 years of your time. You have really learned that thing so well that you can now apply it in any field. For example, programming is a superpower because you can use. After I learned programming, I was able to enter any different field because I was able to build products for them, uh, which they couldn't build without programming a computer, for example. So similarly, there is programming of hardware, programming of different kinds. So that is one kind of superpower. Another kind of superpower is, for example, public speaking. So someone who knows how to talk in public and influence people's decisions, they can transition into all kinds of jobs. So there can be jobs which do not exist today. By the time you graduate 4 years later, there'll be a plethora of jobs which we can't even imagine right now. And these superpowers will basically help you navigate those jobs with ease because now you know something, you know how to do one thing which you are an expert in, right? And it is cross applicable. It can be applied to any goddamn field, any branch, any project that you want.
Yeah, Abhikar, this is
Okay.
Dharmendra. I asked this one. So, what do you mean by superpower? Sorry, I did not get that.
So superpower is basically a skill or a talent that you can acquire through a degree, and it can be used across all domains and across all industries.
Mean become the leader in any selected field.
No, no, no. It is a particular kind of. So if you have that skill, then you can excel in any field. For example, my superpower is programming, and
Okay,
since I
okay.
have the superpower of programming, I enter any field and I automatically become very valuable to them. So they pay me to learn that whatever it is that they have to
The,
teach me, right?
the new domain. Okay.
In my 4 years in college, what I picked up was a superpower of programming. So with that superpower, now I am able to navigate all the fields that I want. I am able to build products. So my superpower helps me to build software products easily.
Right, right. So
So
basically, excel in at least one selected field.
not field, skill. Field is different than skill. So if you excel in, for example, chemical engineering, it is not a particular skill that you have become a master of. You have become master of chemical engineering and maybe some data science. So data science skills will be your superpower, but
Yeah, modeling, building models.
yes. So that is the skill, and that can become a superpower, and you can apply it in any field. You can apply it in economics, in psychology, in military, in arts, in core sciences like physics, chemistry.
Yeah,
Like you can
basically,
apply it anywhere, right?
right. Basically, like
So,
programming.
yeah. So I think if someone is preferring for production, let's say, then later on, based on that his interest and merit, he can choose in either in robotics manufacturing, or he can go to the milk factory, chocolate factory, like that. If he understand later on that he's managing the people is a super skill. So is it
Right.
correct?
Yes, yes, yes. So influencing people, I don't know about management. I have I'm still reading and studying about that, but I know about leading people. If you are a master leader, like if you are
Yeah.
able to influence people and make them belong to you, that is a superpower.
Right.
And people who are able to do that are able to like if you look at any big person right now, any name that you really remember, there are people who can influence other people, right?
Right. Thank
So
you.
influencing other people is also
And
a
so
superpower.
one more. Yeah. Just one more question, sir. Next session, we would like to have something like this because today we can see that everybody is attempting for IIT. Okay. Now, as one point of time, we discussed that only 1% of the people should choose for the core science. Okay. Similarly, can we have a session because of the person, he or she is interested in, let's say, AI. Now, how to approach? Matlab, his skill, interest, merit, everything is combined. Then how to choose the right organization? IIT, everybody wants to prefer that. But when I combine everything, it is a merit, it is interest, it is skill, everything. Then in order of preference, from and then even the intake capacity of particular that organization and strength, how we should organize this means IIT comes first, then something national institute like that. So this kind of session we want later on. Is it possible, sir?
I think, sir, that we do have a follow-up session on this. It has not been totally scheduled yet, but we are going to have a follow-up session. So we can take your topic in detail in the next session.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, I think Avikalp sir, what you said was regarding the job and your skill set. Sir, so I think what I could understand from it was there is lots of flexibility in the job scenario right now, and just by learning the super skills and all those stuff, you can enter in any field you wish to.
Yes, it will be your entry point into every field after you have, when you feel ready, right? Suppose you complete your graduation and now you feel that you are ready to work. Some people don't feel ready at times. At that time, so they go for higher studies. But most, like a lot of people feel that they are ready to pick a job. So now that, so for example, I'll give you my own example, and like I'm not unique in this, right? Like a lot of my batchmates are like this. So we graduated, and then after that, we got into a first job, which was mostly coming from placements. In my case, it was a little different because I did not know what I wanted to do, so I joined a research institution. But after my research, I joined a job, right off, like from the with the help of the people involved in the same institution. Now, at this first job, they needed my skill, and then there every company which can give you a job can never be like just doing something which is just pure science. They have to create a business on top of it. Otherwise, they can't earn money. If they can't earn money, they can't pay a salary, right? So whatever is their business, you get to learn that from them. If you find that interesting, you can stay with that organization for a very long time. But suppose it does not interest you, then you will always have the option to switch among other companies. So that is one part of the thing, like looking at the job market. The other thing that I was talking about was like the kind of jobs that exist today are not the same jobs which existed 4 years before today. So the jobs that will exist 4 years from now or 6 years from now, in your case, will not be the same jobs that exist today in the market, right? So you can't really prepare for a job. What you can prepare is to be able to handle any kind of situation, and if you have these skills, these superpowers, that will help you navigate among those new job opportunities with ease. So, for example, data science was not a hot topic when I joined college in 2012. At that time, like hardly anybody, like there was, I think, just 10% of the computer science population who were thinking about, artificial intelligence and neural networks in particular. Whereas by the time I graduated, it became a hot field. So I directly dove into data science because it was mostly about programming. If you can program, you can manipulate data easily, and you can easily learn machine learning and artificial intelligence. In juxtaposition, there was another person that I know. He's not from India. He was like born and brought up in Norway. But what he learned over there was effective writing. So he could write so well that people would love to read whatever he has written. So by the time he graduated, he also graduated like 1 or 2 years before me. At that time also, AI and ML had become very hot. So what he did, he started writing articles about AI and ML based on whatever contacts he was able to find. Like he talked to people who were researchers in the field, and he started writing. And he has now become like such a great writer that all the big companies are trying to attract him so that he can join and influence and lead their people. So the writing itself is a superpower, and that has helped him navigate into a field which has nothing to do with writing with a pen on a paper, right? So these are the things that I'm talking about. If you have the like If you have these superpowers, you can then easily navigate the jobs of the future that we can't even imagine right now.
Yeah, what is name of that person? I will call just for curiosity. Thanks.
His name is Alex Moltezau, Alex, Alex, Moltazeu. I think that is how he spells it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's very interesting thing. Yeah.
So Dharmendra, Shishir, so from let us hear from you as a parent. What are the challenges you are seeing or facing? because
There I
because
see. Yeah,
I'm
thanks.
before I get into, I know Avikalp is a great guy. He is a com science from IIT Kanpur, blah blah.
Right,
So he is an exception on in itself. I must agree with
right,
that.
right.
Not
That's what I
everyone,
saying. Yeah,
not all of our kids may be able
can
to
take the
evolve
exceptional
in or
path. Yeah,
get to that level. The way
right,
Avikalp is so flexible and very smart and intelligent to move from one field to another.
right, right,
So we are now thinking of कि अब आईटी के 4-5 years, आई थिंक 5-6 साल हो गया विकल्प को, राइट? अब
right,
उससे हम क्लास 10th में जो स्ट्रगल 9-10th वाले बच्चे जो स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं उनको हम कैसे मैच कराएंगे? वो
right.
वो
See,
बहुत टफ टाइम.
right. I see like as a parent and as a like we have crossed some stage and we see a gap, and because of gap I like we have our expectation went in different direction. I see like for average child, I think about average child who is not exceptional, and we talk about exposure. So that's the right direction. But I see multiple stages. I have the child who are in class 9 and my expectation is different. I need to fill that gap in some smooth way. So they first is interest in subject, second is they become dedicated, they enjoy, they learn, but they need a stage wise exposure to different steps so that they can learn basic calculation, they can learn basic science, they can get ready for some competition in some direction, because today in India still good education is available only in some good colleges where admissions are via flat competition using few subject tests. After that people think about profession, job, and then some business. Even like in job, people initially think only about job then business, so there are stages there also. So sorry Susil, I guess your question is only about kids who are
Kids
approaching
and the
for.
parents,
Yeah,
basically the kids
right,
and the challenges and what parents are struggling with.
right,
I will try to add. I was talking to some people, and they have kids at varying stages in education. So maybe in the same family, you can find one kid who is very smart and focused on something, but at the same time, there are kids who are in the current situation. Maybe COVID has also contributed to it. They have not yet got the clarity of what they want to do or what they like.
right. And that I would say 99% children are in same similar state.
Now the challenge is how to get the cobwebs off their minds, how to coach them, spoon feed them to an extent, or even handhold them so that they can figure out their way. Because unless that kind of a possibility is there for the youngsters, then we as parents and teachers are always going to throw a big cloud of data at them, but they will probably find it very difficult to learn how to navigate today. जो अभी नीचे बैठे हैं वो क्लाउड तक कैसे पहुंच
Yeah,
पाएगा,
that doesn't work, right?
right?
So just I give one example. Like I was trying to teach my students my kids the calculation, like do accurate calculation at least. Then a speed can come with time. And this, suddenly I found that they themselves they are enjoying the Kahoot website, and teacher just exposed to them, and when they feel that they need to do little bit better or similar as their classmates are doing, and then my both kids started picking up that one very quickly. So count is like teacher is just guiding, so some mentor is required, and it's real time, and then they are finding it very interesting. So just speaking is one thing, and second is creating an environment is second aspect. So there I think we should discuss in future. So it's real time. Every student is submitting the response. They see their response. They see where they are right, wrong, and somehow it simulates interest in them.
So I think that what is missing in most of the school systems is
Right,
not just the subject, connecting the subject to that particular child's
right. It's
inner interest. So what I feel is that inner interest has
correct.
to be handled first before we nudge them towards a long-term career path, because that is anyway going to change.
Right, right.
Today, if kids are saying they are very much interested in, say, computer science or whatever, AI, whatever, I'm not against that. I know for sure within 5 years, the opportunity itself is going to change.
Right. As Narayan sir said that the teacher, the mentor, or the professor, what the students select for higher studies, similar thing would be true for school age as well. Somehow, teacher need to make things interesting and attract children. So in
Right.
our age, it was different. We studied because of some different need, but today students don't feel any need. So somehow, teacher need to attract them. So we need to find some way how to create such environment and
Yeah,
engagement.
see, roles of school, roles of school is also changed. Rather than really focus on teaching, now they have to become more of facilitating. So, just coming to one query which has come onto the chat, yeah, is what are the career option on biology? So, sir, would you like to take? Hello, Narayan sir.
Yeah, I have replied. Yes, biotechnology,
Yeah,
cellular
maybe you can
biology.
elaborate. Yeah.
So,
No, no. How do they plan? If they have done something like this.
there are university courses now, undergraduate courses at Pune University. There's a school of uh, cellular biology and there's a school of biotechnology. So there are undergraduate courses at University of Pune.
Even I think they have biomedical sciences and few other things also.
Yeah,
I think.
but these are more biology and mathematics oriented in Pune University.
Right, right, right. So I had one point also. See, when we were studying, there was a lot of craze of going to foreign education, GRE or few other things. But
Hmm.
now I'm seeing more trends, even from an undergrads, from a doing at that early stage also. So I just wanted to ask a lot of people that going with the internet and education in business, education becoming more digital in nature, does foreign education or going to US and studying makes that much difference in today's age? Maybe Abhikil, you can also share from your experience. Does that really is mandatory, or does it really has that need?
Um,
That's really
so
good.
it's not an easy question to answer.
Yes.
It depends on different people. So my opinion is that you don't need it. It's definitely not mandatory. Now, what comes like the next question is that does it have advantages? So it has some advantages, but a lot of people, like at least the data that I have access to, not everyone takes proper advantage of it. Like, and let me tell you, like logically, what is the biggest problem in that? So whenever you go and work in a study or work in a foreign country, for example, USA, so a lot of your mental bandwidth is actually gone in just staying in that country. I know people who are doing a job over there for like 5 years, and like almost 20, 30, 40% of their conversations are just about कि यार वीजा का स्टेट ये है, मेरे को यहाँ पे ये करवाना है, रिन्यू कराना है, ये कराना है, वो कराना है. Like they get very little extra bandwidth in their mind outside of their work, in which they can actually think about something where they can actually excel. So one of my friends who was actually struggling with it a lot, he is also like a batchmate from Kanpur. He actually left his job at Google after working there for 5 years and came to India without a job. And here now he's like after just exploring the world for 2 months, he decided to start up. But he just came here because he wanted to be able to think, and that is something I think is like growing as a problem. So it might have
But
certain advantages. For example, in terms of the schools they are very well funded schools, and those schools are properly involved in industry research. So that is why they also like get a lot of good work done in the research institutions there. But yeah, so every pro comes with a con. It's not an easy answer.
there were 2 points. One is that there is a lot of maddening rush on going for towards that. So one point is that formal education or formal degree may not be relevant for a
Personally, your
successful
voice is
career.
breaking. I don't
Versus
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but your voice was breaking.
Saying there was one argument is that whether a formal education or degree this has the need versus a maddening rush of going even for undergraduate with probably expanding expenses of few crores of investing in undergraduate education that also in foreign university the craze is maddening. So I don't know what is it's like two different connotation of the same path what you are looking to achieve. No?
Yes, yes, definitely. Like you should really, really have to come from money if you want to pursue undergraduate education outside because you have no guarantee of returns. Like it's their undergraduate education is in no manner better than us. So Narayan sir is going.
Yeah. So, man, for any other any other points on that topic? Like the foreign education or making his career via a foreign education?
Mm, I may have different views about foreign education based on the number of years I have passed out and the way I went through ups and downs in my as well as watched my other friends' careers. My feeling still is the undergraduate education in the US and most other countries, Western countries, can be very expensive for most of the middle or even upper middle class people if they want to fund it on their own. So, from my perspective, I would suggest unless you can afford it, avoid kind of overexposure to that kind of huge amount of loans and an uncertainty because that is going to go on
But
for
now the
years.
rush is increasing, so people who are not able to afford, because I'm sure undergraduate the scholarship option may not be that high versus, a MS options what we have.
But I am only sharing my perspective, right? So a super duper guy can get all kinds of scholarships. 10th class mein, the guy can get an invitation from Stanford. Wonderful. But I am talking not of the highest points or the peaks. I am talking not of the outliers. I'm talking of the general average middle band in statistical sense. Let's focus on that.
Right,
For
that
those
makes sense.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, so let's not talk of exceptions. Let's talk of the average normal guy. For the average normal middle class, upper middle class person, it's a tough option to send a kid to from India with an Indian job to US or any other university. So other option is go through a decent amount of graduation, but let us not lose track of your own inner interest of the kids and how that interest is going to evolve. That is very important. Suppose you force your kid into some stream, and after 3 4 years, you say, okay, now you take GRE, GMAT, whatever, and then you try to get a school. Suppose the guy or girl lands up with a school. What about his or her interest over there and his or her ability to adjust to a totally different environment? So where I'm now drawing your everyone's attention is on the basic life skills and some fundamental aspects of your own self management that would drive everything. I have known people who are very effective in adjusting to various situations. They went for a certain postgraduate program to US and they landed up in a totally different area. But then it was kudos to the skill of adjustment and be willing to try out things. If your kid does not have, or anyone's kid does not have yet, those kind of skills, the life skills which I call them, things become very tough whenever and wherever you land up. So the ideal situation is while the regular school education is going on, focus should be on lot of self development, the life skills, and your strong ability to introspect yourself, your mind at a very deep level. I would say that is a backdrop, that is a background which is totally now missing, especially in a modern English based education system. It was probably to an extent when we had our earlier Indian style where kid was expected to kind of explore deeply. But I'm sure with some effort the modern need is there to have a mix of actual education, the way the hardcore technical structured education system which we have, and a very strong focus on your own self. If self is not handled in today's upcoming world which is so damn complex, nothing can be handleable. And very key data point which I have is look at the rise in mental health issues which are coming up. Our education is finding it struggling enough. What about the next the generation in the next 5, 10, 15 years? I think I will leave that with a big question and let's talk more about it. We have to handle kids much more carefully so that then they're able to handle the life in the future world. It's going to be very difficult, very tough.
Yes, sir. I think for that point, probably need a lot more deliberation than today's topic. So just to summarize, so Nancy, anything left from discussion or any other queries from kids or various option? I'm sure it's a very vast field, but we have to conclude today's session somewhere.
To conclude, I would like to add one last thing: how to figure out for a kid
Nancy?
I want my suggestion. This Shishir here. My suggestion would be to focus on that particular slide which Narayan sir showed, which had 4 5 points, where how to figure out the strength and the interest. That is the key. How it happens, we can talk of that, and I may have some ideas. Others may add more to it, but that is the key to everything. It is an entire life planning, life coaching exercise which has to be
Yes,
built
yes.
into it in our more formal education curriculum and careers. Life skills, life coaching, that is the basis. Without it, I strongly feel without that it may not work out well for the future generation.
Very valid point, but I think it require a lot of reform
Yeah,
or
actually,
at least.
like I think that is a very good place to end this because so you were all talking about these like that I am exceptional and that not every kid is like me. I was an average guy when I was in school. I was not a topper at all. Like till 10th standard, I never topped my class ever. Even till 12th, I topped my class. I never was even in the top 10. In a 40 class people, like I had a class of 40 and I was never among the top 10. So I was pretty average in that sense. I never failed, but I was never in the top 10. So if you judge people like that, like if someone is exceptional, someone is not, I don't think that is the right way to look at things. What helped me, what made me someone who you are all calling exceptional for now, is I think what Shishirji just said. Like in 11th and 12th, I went out of my house, and over there, I actually learned life skills. I learned how to manage myself. I learned how to motivate myself. I learned how to introspect. And those are all the things that have actually helped me throughout my college and my life after that. And I think like I'm doing pretty well. And all of that actually boils down to what I learned in my high school, 11th and 12th, where I learned those skills to self-sustain, to self-motivate, to inspire myself, and to introspect.
Thanks for the share, Avikal, and thanks for agreeing at least to the about the fundamental aspects which I am trying to drive at.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, this is really valid and I would say basic need for each student and child. So, did you see both strength and weaknesses to identify strength and weaknesses both, right?
Yes, that. Avikal, you can go ahead, continue to speak. You can interrupt me. Yes, I strongly believe strength and weaknesses kind of analysis is very important. There are
Right.
few psychometric tests also, which may be slightly above the caliber when the young student does it. But I can try to maybe someone else can also do the research, get something, and make it more available to the kids
Yeah,
and the
please
parents.
share that. Yeah. And I
Uh,
also have some level of the IQ test that other people, which is for employees. But I guess on the same line, we can develop something for kids as well.
there's definitely like if you want to look at if you're looking at personality test, there's one thing which is 16 personalities. It's a website which is based on Myers-Briggs personality
Yeah,
assessment, which is popular.
MBTI. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
Uh,
my suggestion here, like
I
Dharmendra ji, is that yeah, my suggestion here is that
will
the
begin
parent to not
for some
hello,
the resources so we can circulate to other audience as well.
Asmuk ji, I couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah, Vikal, go ahead, go ahead.
I
No
think that
issues.
Yeah,
We can hear
I
you.
was saying,
what
I was
we're
saying that
talking
Yeah,
I was saying
Asmuk.
that if like
cats
the
and dogs
parent, I was
also.
asking the parents to not really get too deep into it. Like just tell your kids to do the assessment and keep it to themselves. Like don't make them share it to you. Let them introspect. What helped me was not living with my family anymore. Because while I was with my family, my parents would always help me and guide me in every single thing, and that actually did. I think that it helped me in some aspects, but it also like
kind of did not ever give me the need to really introspect, to really understand myself, because my parents were doing that job for me. So I would suggest that if you can like provide that kind of an environment where the kid has to struggle, but they have to struggle in a safe environment, like they would not get destroyed in their life, but only that kind of safety the parents should provide at this point, and they should let their kids like fail 100 times.
Yeah, on the same topic, maybe I'm rambling too much. Avikalp, so on the same topic, my view is the exposure of the kids to various experienced people or even hardcore coaches and counselors can be a very useful exercise, but that exercise has a lot of value, and I have been through various life experiences, so I'm saying it, that has good value only when your coach, guide, guru, whoever he or she is, asks tough questions, incisive questions, penetrating stuff. Unless the mind is triggered to think with a lot of uncomfortable kind of deep dive, things don't make sense. Tab tak comfort zone mein, when parents are protective, hey, don't ask tough questions to my kid, blah blah, then it doesn't work out. And I feel we would be looking for some kind of a coach slash guidance or a guru figure who can really get deep and do that tough questioning, whether it's the kids or even their parents.
Yeah, but Shishir, do you think that just questioning is enough? Like, wouldn't experiences where they're not protected, wouldn't those also be
No, no,
important in building that?
protected is fine. Kids are anyway in a protected atmosphere. It's just that some hard look at themselves, that is very important.
I see.
For example, we there is in a lot of psychology or some such maybe spiritual situations, there are exercises where they ask us to imagine your own death. Now, I know it's very traumatic to speak of death, but when I was a kid, I was exposed when I was 13, 14 years of age. I read through all these, some such stuff, the Indian spirituality and all. And I also had to go through, I actually went through that kind of, imagination exercise. That was really eye opening. But I don't know whether modern parents will be willing to have some such workshops. That's my question.
Hasmukh, I think that was a good way to conclude the session. If there's anything else, we can still hang on.
Yeah, thanks, Cecil. Yeah, I think that looks good and it gives a direction in future what we can try to have. Looks like Cecil is no longer available.
No, I'm there. I'm there. I'm
Okay,
hearing
thanks,
you.
Cecil.
Yeah, let's do it. I have whatever material I'm willing to share in a group. Kids ka group rahe, so that will be very interesting.
Right. Hasmukh, I think we can stop here. And answer is no longer available in meeting. Hasmukh is also gone.
ठीक है, then we will end it and
Yeah, let's end it here. Yeah.
okay. Bye bye everyone.
Okay,
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.
Thanks.